Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with an amazing leader in our industry. She's the new president and CEO of IAEE, the International Association of Exhibition and Events, and a longtime friend. Enjoy the conversation with Marsha Flanagan. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. And today, I have the immense pleasure of speaking with one of the top leaders in our industry, with a friend. She's absolutely amazing, amazing career. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what's going on in the exhibition industry, what's going on in the future of work, what's going on with the workforce. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Marsha Flanagan, the new president and CEO of IAEE, the International Association of Exhibitions and Events. Marsha, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm so glad you can take the time that we can have this conversation today.
Of course. I'm really happy to be a part of this today.
Yeah, it's we go back some years, the MPI days. Yeah, well, that's why I say some years.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say 20 years, although
probably 30. I don't know. I didn't say that.
But my first question, as you know, in our generation, a lot of us just fell into the industry by coincidence. What is your story? What was your journey?
I fell into it, but then selected it. So kind of a hybrid, I guess. I graduated with an undergraduate degree in education, and I actually taught for a couple of years and then went back to graduate school and started out in law school. Didn't really have a lot of like business experience, just teaching. And gosh, law school seemed very exciting, but once I got into it, was not really what I thought it would be. So before I told my parents that I did not like law school, I had to come up with a plan. So I was at University of Arkansas and went in and met with a career advisor and said, help me. I got to do something. My parents are not going to be happy with me. I mean, honestly. So I took some tests and, some inventory assessment kind of things. And they came back and said, we think based upon your personality traits, your interests, you might consider something related to a service industry. Well, I didn't know what that meant, right? Like service, what do you mean? They said maybe like hospitality, like hotels, something like that. Well, I have to be honest, back then I thought working in a hotel wasn't really a career. I thought it was a job. Like to me, I thought those were two different things. And I don't know, I wasn't quite sure. Well, I ended up enrolling in this special program. I came out with a master's in education, focusing on meeting, tourism, and recreation management. So I did an internship in all three of those disciplines. So I worked for a DMO for a bit. I worked for the city in the recreation department. And my first intern on the meeting side was with MPI, Meeting Professionals International. Wow, I fell in love with meetings, the meetings industry, and gosh, just association management, servant leadership. So that was back in 92. And
wow.
That's been my thing ever since. And I love it. I've always loved it. It's been very good to me. I've been able to meet wonderful people. And any chance I have to talk to students about how they could really pick a great career path, in our industry, I get that opportunity. I do it. I just love it. But I still have a hard time telling people what I do for a living.
Well, yeah, I think a long time ago I gave up on that. Every time you leave, people, oh, where are you going on holidays now? I said, yeah, exactly, whatever.
Right?
We met and I think it was in 99, something like that. I remember clearly when I was coming to the professional developments, the strategy group, I think was the name of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember flying from Brussels, arriving at the Phoenician in Scottsdale. I was like, whoa, it's amazing. And then meeting you and in the group there was Steve Kimball.
Yeah.
Which was phenomenal. And since then, I've been following your career. So now you are the new president CEO of IAEE. Tell us briefly about what is IAEE, and tell us also maybe about SEER and Kathy, which has been doing.
Sure.
That'll be interesting.
Well, IAEE is a trade association, and our mission is to promote the unique value of trade shows. We really stick to that special, unique area of business events. SEER is an organization that stands for the Center for Exhibition Industry Research. And we have a relationship with SEER, meaning IAEE has a relationship with SEER, in which the research that's produced from SEER, we're able to share that with our members as a member benefit. SEER really tracks the B2B trade show industry in the U.S. So they produce an annual index that tracks our performance of the industry against the GDP. Breaks it down into industry sectors, so you can really dig in if you're in the manufacturing industry, as an example. Really helps you in looking towards the future and how to create your plan for success for your trade shows. But our members are those who either produce shows or those who provide services. And so, like any other trade association, we advocate for the industry. We provide professional education. We have a certification program and have tons and tons of networking events and opportunities, both digital and in person.
So you have all the major show in the world, and how many countries are members?
Gosh, we have about 1,200, 1,500 company members, 10,000 people around the world, close to 50 countries, and that's predominantly due to our certification program. Really, it's the training that we provide for workforce development, and a large number of our CEMs are actually even in Asia. So as we help to expand that workforce in Asia, so
that's awesome. Does your job not force you, but led you to travel a lot, or is it something that you can say, maybe I do that, but not all the travel?
Well, I mean, I've only been doing this since December 1 of last year. So what, 6-7 months in? Yeah. So a lot of travel. Are there things I need to go to, must have to, this and that? I'm still trying to figure it all out. So, I'm trying to do the best I can do to balance it out. But that's probably the hardest part of being in a leadership position in our industry, is just the amount of travel. It's maybe not the mental aspects of it. It's the physical aspects of travel. I mean, 14-hour flights to China every other, here or there. I've already been to China twice, Taiwan. Like that's probably one of the hardest parts, but I enjoy it a lot.
It's awesome. You have worked with IAE several years now. What do you see that is changing? What are the different trends that you see in the exhibition industry?
Well, I think there's a lot of things changing. We've seen with post-pandemic, a lot of people have retired in our industry and are continuing to see people retire. So I think, gosh, for a few more number of years, we are going to see more people retire. So, we want to try to capture that institutional knowledge where we can, whether it be us or working with partners, and hoping that as we bring on that next generation, we can have that historical perspective in place that we can provide, but also kind of bridge like a new way of thinking for the future. Because with technology, obviously, and AI is probably one of the biggest industry. Well, gosh, people say disruptor. I think it's an enhancement. So this is one of the bigger enhancements coming our way, right? We have no idea. I think we're right at the tip of how it's going to impact our industry. But we are trying to embrace that as a team ourselves internally, using various AI components. I think we have 25 plus AI technologies we are using. So we're trying to learn as a team. I think the industry is learning as a team. So that's definitely a trend. I think there's going to continue to be a lot of merger and acquisition activity in the future. Just, gosh, the change in the whole geopolitical landscape. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen there's elections in multiple countries, right, around the world. So how is that going to impact our industry and commerce? That there's a lot to take a look at between now and November, end of the year. So those are probably the top things I think that are happening in our industry.
Yeah, that's a lot, actually. We have a new age workforce, a lot of people retiring, M&A, AI, and then the political landscape. Yeah, not too bad.
Well, I mean, SEER research is showing us that we still haven't fully recovered post-pandemic in the United States. I mean, we're not quite there, and full recovery is really not expected until 2026. So there are certain industry sectors that are really doing well, others that have not bounced back fully. So there's still a lot of work to be done in the next, 12, 15 months. So
what part hasn't bounced back yet?
I haven't seen the most recent industry sector stuff that should be coming out anytime. What I can say are the larger shows are doing really well in general. It's kind of the mid-sized shows that haven't quite come back yet, and then those that have products versus services in general, not talking sectors. It seems like people want to touch and see and feel products, but the service side still is a bit slow to come back.
Got it. When you look at the workforce, because you say that you have a lot of people that have left the industry, and that's obviously not only for trade show. It's something that I hear in the entire meetings and event industry and hospitality. What do you see is essential for businesses to do, or to train, or to type of people to recruit in order to be successful? I hear a lot of, I'm dealing now with people that have no clue what they're talking about, or they don't have the experience, or I have to restart everything from scratch.
Wow, I could talk about this topic all day because it really is a passion of mine. I mean, we talked about it earlier. We still have to tell people what we do for a living, right? So when we're on Capitol Hill and we're talking about this jobs in our industry, they still don't understand the contribution that we make to jobs and the GDP. And when I came on board, I was very fortunate. I came on as VP of Education, and IAEE had just conducted a job analysis project. So I was provided with all this raw data on various jobs specific to trade show organizers, and what skills are needed, what knowledge is needed, what abilities are needed. And we worked really close with the Department of Labor, and we were able to establish our own industry sector with the Department of Labor. We were not even recognized anywhere at the Department of Labor as a true career path. So we now have an industry sector, not just trade shows, it's meetings, conventions, it's events, and exhibitions. And we established an SOC code. So for independents like yourself, Eric, you were having to put on your income tax 000 other because there was no code to use, right? Mm-hmm. There's a code now for that. We've established a NAICS code, which, it's all these things are tied in with the Bureau of Labor and Statistics and this what's called an ONET system, which is what college counselors and high school counselors use to look for jobs to help counsel high school and college students. We now show up, right? We show up. Like all this was a lot of the under the hood, behind the scenes stuff that people seem to not like, oh, big deal, woohoo. This is what now the government can see and can track, and we can tell a better story to those that it matters. We continue to update this competency model that includes all of these skills that you mentioned. So when you start talking about what skills are needed for success in our industry, it's being recognized now. There's gap analysis tools that colleges and universities can use. industries can use. Any training department of any one of our companies can use this and see these are the skills that are needed for success. But it's a hard story to tell. It really is, because it's just not, it's hard to package. It's just hard to tell that story. But I'm really proud of the work that we've done.
I think what you just said, and I want to re-emphasize it because it's huge. For two main reasons that I see. The first one, your point about recruitment, about college, about career, which can attract even more people. But second, if you don't measure, you don't exist. And by having this code and by having this industry recognize all the impact study that has been done since the first one I remember we did the 2010, 2011, that is providing more data. And that is telling the politician, the media, the rest of the world, this is what we're doing. This is how much we represent. But people don't understand that.
They don't. But the exciting part is working collectively with other industry organizations like EDPA and ESCA, IAVM. I know that's alphabet soup for all of these groups, but the other pieces of the ecosystem for exhibitions, they're now working on similar models so that contractors are being recognized in the construction competency model, and that venue management is being recognized in the competency model. So there's now a group that is working with the U.S. Department of Education because of all of this work, and establishing apprenticeships for plumbers, electricians, for the trades. And we need those on the show floor. So it's exciting. I think this is a long-term marathon. It's not a sprint. But we'll get there. And I just, it's exciting to be recognized as a true profession now with various departments of government. And what's exciting too is when we talk to other government agencies, when we launch our CEM certifications, we're able to say that this body of knowledge is endorsed by the U.S. Department of Labor. And they are very excited about that. So
absolutely. Going back to AI, it was obviously impacting everything. You said you're using about 25 different tools.
Yeah.
When you look at your role today, how would that be different 5 years ago without the AI tool? What is changing, and what could or should people listening now think or use in their own organization?
Well, we're a small team. We have just over 20 employees, and I've said since day one on the job, we've got to find ways to work smarter, not harder. And technology can do that if used properly. It has to be used safely, properly, ethically. I get it. But we no longer take minutes the old-fashioned way by writing out what you hear. I mean, we're using recordings and AI to help us with minutes. I mean, that in itself, when you've got 20 plus committees and board meetings every month or this and that, I mean, that's a huge time saver, right? I mean, it goes, there's all kinds of technologies, but the way we build our lists for sales, the way we transform our research, the way we take our collective conversations with various groups and run it through AI programs, marketing, education, and building out your program materials and your advertising messaging. The list goes on and on and on. It helps you work smarter, not harder. Can you take it at face value? I mean, no, it's not going to take the place of a person, right? It's just going to help you work faster and better, more efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about working faster and more efficiently, you mentioned the alphabet soup. I don't know how many association, organization, everything. What do you see in the future for association in general? Because there's a lot of new people coming. Do they see the value of being a member of an association? What is your recommendation for any other association CEO listening?
Well, you're talking to an educator at heart. So I think in any situation, lifelong learning is something that people should embrace. I just, whether it be as a parent, as a sibling, as a community activist, as a leader in your business, I just think you should never miss out on an opportunity to learn. And I think that associations can provide always that opportunity to give you the skills and the knowledge and the edge to succeed in anything that you do. Just talking with other peers. And I mean, Eric, I've known you forever. I mean, I was able to watch you on boards and committees, and I learned from you along the way. That is something I will cherish forever. I mean, being able to be a leader now in my position after seeing you in leadership positions is such a valuable experience. I do think that the next generation is still eager to be and meet in person and to feel a sense of belonging. I mean, belonging is what we need in this world today, right?
Yes.
And so to be able to make a difference, be in a positive and empowering situation is why we exist as an association. It's a sense of belonging.
Love it. Absolutely agree with the sense of belonging. I would add as well that a lot of people are dealing with solitude. And when it comes to business owners specifically, there's a lot of business owners are alone and overwhelmed. But I can see that with the people I'm coaching and helping.
Yeah.
Is this something as well that you hear from your members? Is this something that is discussed within the forums internally?
You know, it is. We have a number of what we call our small insights discussion groups. They're held virtually, and we have those specifically for women in the industry, small show organizers, large show organizers, and the themes kind of tend to be the same as far as what people are dealing with personally. We have seen people struggle with working remotely or not being a part of a team like they once were. It's even beyond belonging. It's purpose. I think people are having a hard time understanding purpose. And as a leader, I think this is where you really have to dig in deep and you really have to find a way to empower your team, your people, your members to really feel like they're contributing. It's tough. And I've heard some really sad stories, and even people that are brand new to the industry and then their mentors are leaving. I'm in that situation. I've lost a couple of mentors in the last 6 months, right? So are they gone forever? No, but it's you have to build your personal board of directors, and I think people are afraid to even ask at times. Like they're afraid to even ask someone, do you mind if I pick your brain once a month? Can we just have a meetup? Can we, and I think it's okay to do that. There's more people willing to take part in that than you think, because people seem to be busy, right?
Yes.
Busy isn't always productive. So
not at all.
We need to be productive, and we need to seem less busy to the point to where we're open for conversations and for those connections.
Absolutely. Oh, there's so many gems in what you just said. First, the personal board of directors, call it the board of advisors, whatever you call it. You don't have to have a formal thing. Just look at 10 people that you would want to ask their opinion together or separately, that are people that you trust will genuinely tell you what they think.
Right.
But the second thing is, it's sometimes crazy to me that we kind of keep going to the same people, we keep asking amongst ourselves, and then we wonder that we don't have innovation or new ideas or new way of thinking. It's the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing and expecting different results.
That's true.
So, how, what are you doing personally to, what are the type of people you're looking at? What are the source of information you're reading? What are you doing in terms of getting ideas from outside the traditional sphere and implementing them? And I know it's only 6 months, but I'm
Right.
sure you have a process, and you've done this for many years. So
I do try to read as much as I can industry related, but a couple of things non-industry related. Someone once told me, who's been one of our faculty members as part of our CEM program, he said, if you're not reading a book a week, you're not growing. I was like, a book a week? Like I mean, I'm just not a reader. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm a very visual, like a magazine. I love it. So I've been making myself read a book a week. And they've all been non-industry, leadership focused, can even be, I mean, they're business focused. They're not, romance novels or anything like that. I really don't have time for I mean, your time is so, crazy,
right.
but I do find nuggets that I'm like, you know what? I need to share that with the team, or share that in an email that goes out to somebody, or share. You just never know what people are struggling with. Everyone really has a story, Eric. They
Hmm.
just do. And I don't think at times we give people enough grace.
Right.
So the more you can read, the more you can share, just anything that's positive, people really they strive, they really want that positive message. So
Yep.
whatever I can do.
And cross industry, to your point, I remember years ago reading a book called The Medici Effect, many years ago, and it's basically what the Medici were doing in the times of the Renaissance, is bringing different people from different backgrounds and industry, and make them work together. And I remember one of the example was an architect who had to design a building saving energy in a very heated place. I don't know if it was in Texas and Florida or Arizona,
Try Texas.
right? He went to Africa and one country and start observing how ants and ant eaters were designing their own habitat, and basically managed to create an airflow in that building, looking at what was being done in the animal part, which was absolutely phenomenal. And to your point, I like reading a lot of business book. I'm reading now this book about AI, Life 3.0, being human in the age of artificial intelligence, from Max Tegmark. It's fascinating. He read that several years ago, but it's going through all the department of the society, of a business, and how AI is impacting it. But I love also learning from other people, from other industry, get new ideas.
Me too. I think that's really important. I mean, I like to follow a lot of the like the Gallup poll, the Harris poll, Trend Hunters. I'd like to follow all of those groups that get sentiment type of data from the public, right? Like what's the public saying? Because it's always interesting. You see social media stuff, which is crazy. You see new stuff, great. Like everything is just so confusing. And so I just like to, I like to see as much as I can from different perspectives, because you do now have to look at so many different perspectives to really keep an open mind. You have to experience those different mindsets. So
Absolutely. We're looking at those different mindset that you mentioned, but also how people are working in the future. Some people are remote, some people are going to the office, some people have a mix of it. Interestingly enough, my elder daughter started working this summer, and she wanted to have a job which was not remote, which I think is great, especially when you start, because obviously the interaction are different. But so you have that aspect of where you work and how you work. You have artificial intelligence, which is, somebody said before looking at artificial intelligence, we should be looking at natural intelligence, which is kind of interesting.
That's kind of funny.
What do you see as the future of work in our industry? What is, I mean, when you have to build a booth, you have to build a booth. It cannot be done remotely. But how do you see the future of work in our industry?
It's interesting you had that conversation with your daughter. I had a similar one, and she does not want to work remote. She wants to work with people. And so as she's gone through different courses in college, she's now seeing the jobs that revolve around people. So that's interesting. I had the same conversation, but she's asking me about my job. She says, "You're always on the computer, you're always on the phone, you're always, you know." And I said, before the pandemic, I was still on the phone, I was still on the computer, and I worked in spreadsheets and documents all day. Registration processes are in the cloud. This is in the cloud. This is in the cloud. I just did it in an office around people with my door closed. Now I'm just in a different place with the door closed. I can't go out at lunch and say hi to somebody. So our industry we're still doing the same, like we still work in spreadsheets a lot, right? We're still working in databases a lot, in the cloud a lot, on calls. I think that's what makes coming together for the events we produce so much more valuable. It's that human connection that people still want. Mm-hmm. So I do think, though, people are getting pickier about where they want to travel to, what they want to attend. The ROI has to be greater. Mm-hmm. We've seen in research various entities, even our member organizations that have done research, the number of events people are attending is lower. So we just have to be more considerate of people's time. We have to be more responsible with what we do with people's time when they are with us at our events, and really create that business value back so that people are engaged and they come back.
So it's all about creating unique experience at the event, but also a lot of marketing efforts, maybe more than in the past, a lot of marketing efforts to convince people that your event or your trade show is the one that they should be attending compared to other option that they have. It's
a tough job for marketers right now. It's tough. I see it. It's the messaging has to be clear, but organizers have to take a more open-minded approach, and they need to design, an experience, to your point, and not just produce, rinse and repeat what they've done before. They really have to know what their customers want and need, and create that. It is an experience. So
yeah, absolutely. And you have the choice, much more choice. When I had my corporate event agency, okay, you have one or two major trade show. You had IMX, the IBTM, and then you have maybe 2-3 fam trip that I decide to go. Although I could have been gone from January 1st to December 31st. But now Media Magazine are doing their show. Hotels are doing their conference. Everybody's doing a conference. And then somebody who has an audience want to do a conference on all the topics you can imagine. There's a lot out there.
I think you could do something every day or at least every week, right? In our industry. I know I hear that a lot. I think in the future, collaboration is going to be key, and trying to work together to create more unified experiences. That would be my wish for the future. For, if you look 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, how can we being our industry orgs, come together to help everybody out, not stretch sponsor dollars here and there, and not, force people to make choices. And I don't know what that looks like or what that means, but everyone's an entrepreneur, and that's great. We want that. That's the one thing about our industry, being creative and being, all about people and networking. Yeah, people are going to go out there and create these things, but that also forces everyone to think. You talked about innovation, are we innovative as an industry? I don't know. Like, do trade shows look any different than they did 50 years ago? Well, I think they may look similar, but what's different is the use of technology. It's the interactions, it's the matchmaking, it's the It's how you produce the event, plan the event. It's that part is very different.
Awesome. Marsha, thank you very much for your time today. I'd like to ask one last question, and actually, it is for you. That's a question that I love asking my guests. You never know who's going to listen. You never know what can happen. So, what would be one personal and one business dream of yours that if anybody's listening to that, they say, okay, I know I can help Marsha and I'm going to reach out to her?
Oh, that's a tough question, Eric. On the personal side, I wish my parents were still here. I think they would be proud, but
I'm
haven't
sure
had my parents for a while, so that's kind of a personal thing, right? Or even my kids, because I want them to be excited about the future. So whether they pick our industry or another, I want them to be excited about picking a career that can make them as happy as what I've been able to do and how happy events have been, in my life. But on on the business side, gosh, that's a tough one.
A question that you have in mind, or a wish or a dream that somebody who's listening would say, oh, I think I can help Marsha. Let me reach out to her.
Man, I wish I could think of some, I would say maybe someone oof. I wish you would have asked me this question beforehand.
But then it's not spontaneous. That's why I always skip it there.
I know, right? Wow, I would say it would have to be someone like a business leader of a large corporation that could help our industry be innovative. And I have to think about that. What I will say is I did submit my information into the On Shoes Corporation because
On shoes.
On shoes because
Oh, yeah.
Because we need a good shoe for those in the trade show industry that looks good, feels good. So we
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So if anybody's listening,
that's not
and if anybody's got connection with On Shoes Company, please reach out to Marsha.
I would say I would want someone from regarding, our research and just our overall value in the industry, any economic driver, CEO leader of the economy. Like if I could have, I don't know, whoever's responsible for the U.S. Department of Commerce, I don't know, anything to do with our economy, a big driver of that, call me.
And have a conversation with that person. We'll see how we can make that happen. Wonderful.
Get on
it. Marsha, thank you very much for your time. I can't wait to see you again in person. And in the meantime, be well. Thank you so much for spending the time.
Thank you, Eric.
Marsha, thank you so much for taking the time with me today. Truly enjoy our conversation, and congrats again on your new role with IAEE. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to connect with me, please follow me on LinkedIn or go to the website eventbusinessformula.com, where you will find a lot of resources. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation and will share it with your network. Thank you. Bye-bye.